Hi, and welcome to Toni Time. It's so good to see you, or have you see us today. We're getting closer to the holidays. And as you know, I've been having a lot of our council members on the show. And today, we have Robert here. And he is just an amazing man. I mean, his love, his fun, his humor, all comes out. So let me introduce you to Robert. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's so good to have you on the show. We've tried so many times.
Yeah, and we've had some scheduling conflicts, but I'm glad we got here today to get this done.
I am too.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So now, are you getting ready for the holidays?
I am. Fortunately, my wife takes care of about 90% of all Christmas shopping. I usually take care of her and a few others and my godchildren, and before I know it, I'll be all set and ready to go for Christmas.
Great. Now, you have two boys, right?
I have two boys, Bryce and Brady, and they are 8 and 6, and they're both in Biddeford Primary School right now.
Now, are they getting set for Santa?
They are. We have our elf on the shelf, Chippy, who monitors everything as the day goes on, making sure the boys don't get out of line, because those boys do not want a bad report back at Santa. So
No. And Santa does see everything.
he does. Chippy leaves every night, flies to the North Pole. It's amazing. He tells Santa what's going on, and then he comes back, and they go seek him out in the morning to find out where his hiding spot is.
Oh.
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. So do your boys leave milk and cookies out?
For Santa, they will.
Yeah.
On Christmas Eve, absolutely. And a little bit of oats for the reindeer. You don't want to neglect them.
No.
So, yeah. So everything will be laid out on the 24th.
Well, I know every night before there's kind of, the news comes on and there's always a sighting of Santa and his reindeer. Mm-hmm. I think during that time, because there's such a great time change around the world.
Absolutely.
That, Santa can be everywhere.
Yes, he's seemingly everywhere's at once.
Yeah, I mean, because we're like a day ahead in the far, or they're a day ahead of us in the Far East. Mm-hmm. So, he can be everywhere.
He's a special man.
He was just here at the studio about a week ago with Ashley. Awesome Ashley.
Oh, awesome Ashley, absolutely.
Yeah, Santa was on.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, that was a treat.
Well, it was, and we had more fun with that.
Oh, good.
So tell us, I mean, were you born and raised in Maine?
I was born and raised right here in Biddeford, actually not too far from where I live now. In fact, when I was a child, me and all my friends would play in front of the house I currently live in. We'd play two-hand touch football on Vincent Avenue. And lo and behold, I ended up moving into the house that we played in front of.
Wow.
It was really, so I grew up on Summer Street. We moved to Granite Street Extension. I lived with my parents there for some time, went to college, graduated with a business degree, thought I could conquer the financial world out west.
Yeah.
Went out there, spent all my money. Mom, Dad, can I get some money to come back home? And I haven't left since. So.
But at least you tried. You went for your dream.
I did. I've always wanted to drive across the country. We did that. Me and my best friend did that a couple of times. We've gone from Maine to Florida a few times. I'm pretty proud that although I consider myself a late bloomer with family and marriage, I did see, almost all 50 states. I've been to Europe.
What part of Europe?
Just Ireland. We did a 10-day trip in Ireland. We did 7 in the lower half, and then three or 4 days up in Northern Ireland. So it was a really amazing trip, eye-opening.
And how old were you then?
I was probably around 42, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did that. We actually won a trip. We went to a party to raise money for Irish exchange students. Yeah. And one of the gentlemen whose daughters was an exchange student had a bed and breakfast in Northern Ireland up around Portrush. And we put our raffle entry in, and they picked our name. And So we says, well, let's just not go there for 4 days to Northern Ireland. Let's see the Republic as well.
Yeah.
And we did a bus trip, and it drove us everywheres, and it was just amazing. They would bring us to the sites. They would drive us to the hotel. We didn't have to pick up our luggage. It was just
Wonderful.
It was just an amazing trip. It was very eye-opening, and I really got to see how much they really appreciated Americans over in Ireland.
Really?
They were so nice. I went to a bar. They wouldn't let us buy a drink. They said, "Here's a Guinness on us, mate." And I said, "Okay." They says, "You get us when we come to Maine." I said, "Okay."
Wow.
So it was a wonderful.
What a
time.
wonderful experience.
It was a wonderful experience. We got to see some. My wife and I are kind of we really get into history.
Yeah.
So to see these old castles and these old dungeons and these old graveyards, and we think we have a lot of history here because it goes back to the 1700s. Well, I went to a bar. It was built in 1100, and we went to a castle that was built approximately that time, and just the history there is just mind-blowing.
Well, would you and your wife, in time, like to go off and travel different areas?
Absolutely. I think there's other places. We've been to the Caribbean because it's nice and warm and it's nice to get away. But there's a lot of places in Europe we'd like to do. We both have a little bit of Italian heritage, so we'd like to hit Rome and do a similar trip that we did in Ireland to maybe capture most of Italy.
Great.
I'd like to go to England, Russia. I had a friend that just went to Czechoslovakia. Well, I guess it's not Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, it's
the
changed.
Czech Republic.
Yeah, the Czech Republic now.
But they're really trying to make a pitch at tourism. So she went for like 9 or 10 days, and it was really cheap, and it was really a great time for her.
Taking the boys, what do you think?
Well,
I mean, as they get older,
as
probably.
they get older, yeah, for sure. I'm still, part of me still a little bit protective of the children, especially when we go. If it's inside the continental U.S., I don't sweat it too much. But Europe, I think, would be something I would have to maybe get over.
Isn't that a shame we have to think that way?
I know. It's just the sign of the times, you know, and I just, there's a lot of, like I tell them, there's a lot of people with bad intent out there.
Yeah.
So I preach to my boys, you know, keep your head on a swivel and don't talk to strangers, and, you know, so.
I know. I mean, it's just so crazy. I can remember growing up that you didn't have to worry. I mean, kids would go out, the parents would send them out in the morning.
I know.
And call them in at night
Yeah.
to eat dinner.
That's how it was for us. I could always tell, and my dad would stand on the porch and he'd yell, "Bobby, time for dinner," and all of us kids would scatter and go our separate ways and eat dinner, and oftentimes we'd use the street lights as our reminder that we need to be in soon.
Yeah.
And but now I don't think I could. Maybe when my boys get a little bit older, but
A few more, yeah.
it's I still I'm pretty guarded about that.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you at all. So when you were growing up in Maine, and I mean, growing up in Maine compared to where I grew up and in that, I mean, did you spend, I often want to ask these questions. Did you spend a lot of time on the ocean? Did you get involved in boating? Did you and your buddies, what did you?
So when I was in my senior year of college, me and a couple of my best friends, we all lived together down at Hills Beach, and it was a blast. And one of my best friends and I, we decided that we were going to take up scuba diving. So we did probably well over 100 dives off Biddeford Pool. That was kind of our comfort zone. We could just leisurely walk in, put our gear on, set it, bring it to the truck, walk in, kick around Biddeford Pool for an hour underwater, and it was like a vacation for 1 hour.
Yeah.
You couldn't hear any beeping horns or yelling, or it was just quiet, and all you could have was your thoughts in your head, and you could listen to your bubbles, and And so we really enjoyed that. We've gone on some excursion dives. We went down to Mass, and there was a shipwreck that in the blizzard of '78.
That would be.
The ocean snapped this big freighter in half.
Wow.
One half of the boat went in over 250 feet of water. The other half settled at about 100 feet, which is a depth that we could do. So we went down and saw that, and we've done some other cool dives. We went on Lake Winnipesaukee. There was an old paddle boat called the Lady of the Lake, and we went into that wreck. And it's just, when you're in Maine, you have to just take full advantage of
Well, I would think so.
what it gives you. I'm not much of a winter person, probably in the wrong state for that. So I don't ski, or I used to try to ice skate on Wilcox Pond.
Yeah.
But I've always been a beach guy, a scuba diving guy, an ocean lake guy, boating, jet skiing.
Here in Maine, I've never heard of anybody here in Maine, but I'm kind of in my little world. Scuba diving in Maine. I mean, is there any coral, or are you looking for?
We actually
See.
So maybe your marine biologist at home or at UNE would know this, but our oceans are actually a lot healthier than, say, what you see down south. Everyone thinks, well, crystal clear water, you can see for a mile.
Right.
But see, there's not a lot of sea life. So in here, when, say, August or September, the sun's high in the sky, all the algae's blooming, and then you see all of the really small sea life, smaller than your pinky nail. And so we really have, really healthy waters up this way. So we do have coral. I not like the Great Barrier Reef coral, not like the bleached white coral, but we have some really healthy ecosystems down there, and we get to see a lot of them. We see the crab and, ducks hunting, which is a really neat thing when you're diving, and next thing you know, you see a brown duck swimming next to you. Yeah. So it's really, it's really, really neat out there. We don't see the great white sharks or the blue sharks, but I'm happy with just little things. It's just something to pique my curiosity.
Well, have you taken your sons?
Not yet. I bought both of my boys their first wetsuits this year.
Oh, good.
Just so we can start getting acclimated to how a wetsuit feels in the ocean water.
Well, that'll be great for them.
How it warms up your body, how it makes you buoyant.
I didn't know any of that.
So we do that. We're still having a little trouble figuring out how to use the snorkel, but they're still young. They, the snorkel's meant to stay out of the water so you can breathe and not dive down. So, but we're going to work on that, and I'm not going to force them.
No.
But they tend to like things that Dad does, and I like sharing it with them.
That is so great.
Yeah.
That is so great. So here's the big question. Mm-hmm. How did you and your wife meet?
So my wife and I, this is a really neat little story. My wife and I, we've known each other since, I'm about 5 years older than she is. We've known each other since she was probably 6 or 7. I played Little League with her brother. So she was that pesky kid that would never leave the boys alone. I want to play. And so we'd let her play baseball with us. Things happen, friends grow apart, people go off to college.
Yeah.
My dive buddy, he happens to be related to my wife.
Oh.
So when his father unfortunately passed, I saw her at the funeral, and I asked my best friend, I said, "Hey Glenn, is that Jesse?"
Yeah.
And he says, "It sure is." I says, "Well, I'll be right back." So you've heard of the wedding crasher. I guess I was the funeral crasher trying to, but we ended up hooking up that way. We spent 2 years dating, and then we've been married for just over 10 years. So the rest is history. It all worked out pretty darn good.
Well, okay, I have to ask questions here. So when you saw her and she saw you, did you say, You want to have coffee or?
I walked up and I said, "Hi, Jess." I said, "Do you remember me?" She said, "Yeah, you're Bobby Quattrone." And so I believe I let it go at that. I ended up sending her a card, just kind of saying, just thinking of you, and I ended up calling up and saying, "Let's do some dinner sometime." And I wasn't sure where it was going to end, and she called me back, said, "Yeah, absolutely." So
So, I have to ask.
that's okay.
So, did you know that you were going to marry her? Did you have that feeling in your heart?
There was one day when we were dating, and so I went to her house. I made her dinner, and it went really, really well. And a few hours after, I owned an apartment building in Old Orchard, so I was driving back home, and just something came over me. I just knew. My heart felt like it couldn't take anymore. It was going to just explode. It was so full, and I just knew. I said, "Man, I love that girl," and it was weird. I mean, not weird, but it happened, and I don't regret one day for it.
Of course not.
It was awesome.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. I'm certain. I think that some things happen for a reason.
I do too.
I think you take these different paths, and where it reconnects you, you have no control over. And we both had long-term relationships, and you think you're the one, but you're awfully young, and then it didn't work out for either of us, and we both are sure that it was meant to be that way. So not only do you learn from your triumphs, you learn from your failures as well. And maybe I shouldn't say this to the person I love, or maybe I shouldn't act this way, or maybe I should be more considerate. And then we were just old enough to really appreciate that about relationships.
That's the key word. You were old enough.
Yeah,
Both of you went through a relationship.
absolutely went through a relationship. Once that was done, I needed to get out and see the world. That's why I went to all over the United States, with the exception of Alaska and Hawaii and Montana and a few of these other.
Right.
But I just needed to do that, and I needed to just be by myself for several years, I think, and it worked out. I would not change anything. So part of me felt a little like I was the last of my core of friends to get married, so I felt, wow, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm just not doing something right. They're my age. They're about 47, 48. They've got kids and even grandkids now. And I'm like, wow, I have a 6 and an 8-year-old. But I think as a dad in my mid-40s, I think I'm more patient.
Yeah.
And I think I bring a lot of, qualities that I didn't have when I was in my 20s. Patience. I have much better job. I can really, I just tend to let things roll off my back a lot.
Well, you do at that point.
Exactly.
Which is good for the kids.
Absolutely, it is. It's I'm kind of taking the stop and smell the roses, don't sweat the small stuff. I mean, it's a work in progress. Like when you pour a glass of milk and you turn around and next thing you know, it's pouring off the table and onto the floor, and you're like, how many times do I have to pour this milk and see it get spilled? But then I just stop, big breath.
Right.
We clean it up and we just pour them another glass of milk. It's no
That's
harm,
right.
no harm, no foul.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean,
well, it sounds like your love story with Jesse was meant to be, at the timing it was.
it sure was. Yeah, it really was. It was all about timing, and just things happen for a reason, and I'm just kind of I don't question the reasons. I just accept them.
That's right.
And someone's got a grander scheme for me, and I'll just go with it.
I don't blame you. Now, with your wife, what does she do?
She is an occupational therapist.
Wow.
At Southern Maine Healthcare,
Yeah.
and she does some per diem work at Southridge Living Center. So she does that for her job.
She's got to have a lot of patience.
She does.
Yeah.
She works with some. It's a very. So her job is very. She gets a lot out of it, but a lot of it is also asked of her. Her patience. She shows a lot of great patience. You know, some people just don't want to be treated that day, and she's got to work through it with them and make sure that she's got to push them to where they're not comfortable sometimes. To make sure that they can go home and be able to do it on their own. So, you know,
it's important.
Nobody likes the person that pushes you to the limits.
Right.
But that's what she has to do.
Wow.
Yeah, she's good.
How amazing. I mean, you've come full circle. Now, you're not the only child. You have...
I am the only child.
You are the only child.
No brothers, no sisters.
So am I.
Our parents got it right the first time.
Yeah, they didn't have to do it again.
That's what I always tell people.
Yeah. Wow. So being an only child, and I don't know if you have this kind of syndrome. I do. I love being alone.
I do too, actually. I love my personal time.
Yeah. Because we grew up that way. We grew up as an only child.
We learned how to self-soothe.
Yeah.
You know, to occupy ourselves with just ourselves, I think. And I love reading. I'm an avid reader. I just can't read enough.
Yeah.
And that's part of my downtime, decompress, chill out time.
Yeah, it's when I used to get very upset when Christmas would come and I was a child and I would get games.
I know, who can you play those with?
And who can you play those games with?
Yeah.
And it was like, why are you buying me games? You know?
Yeah.
But I think you learn, I think you get to know yourself so much better.
I think so too.
And you like being alone with yourself. And then when you go out with your family and all of that, you're more present, I think.
I think so.
I mean,
yeah.
I just think you're more present. Because you have 2 children. You didn't have one.
No, I wanted to have at least 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe the third is still coming down the road. Who knows? But,
who knows? But that's the thing with, I mean, I never had children, but I have 3 dogs.
Those are your children.
Those are my children.
Us too.
So I don't have one, I've got to have 3.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because,
there's something about that.
I know that when I was little, I really wanted a brother or sister.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in the cards, and whatever.
Right.
That's fine, whatever. But I don't know. Something just, I didn't want to just have one.
No.
Two at least.
Yeah.
So I get to see. So I was an only child. Most of my friends when I was young had at least a brother or a sister or both, and I could watch their interactions, how they used to fight like crazy, and said, "Oh, I don't miss that." And then when I'd see how they would rally around each other in times of need, I'd say, "Wow, that's a good quality right there." Yeah. So I wanted my boys to have each other, because long after Jess and I are gone, they're still going to have each other.
Exactly.
And I always tell them, I say, you guys, in life, you have to have each other's back. You need to look out for Brady, and Brady needs to look out for Brycey, and don't let anybody do anything to either of you, because they'll have to answer to both of you. It's kind of the way I put it to them. So
that's good advice.
Yeah.
Very good advice. Wow.
Yeah.
Robert, you've come full circle, and you're just such a, you.
I do. I kind of know what I like at this point, what I don't like.
I know, it shows.
And I'm very comfortable in my own skin. There was a long time that I wasn't. I didn't like public speaking. But somewhere along the line, I got some confidence, and I've just been able to build off that. And I don't ever tell myself I can't anymore, that it may be hard, it might take me a long time to do it, but I'm going to see through it and make sure it gets done.
So what brought you to the city council?
So I used to be an employee of Maine Energy, the recovery company that was downtown, burnt trash to make electricity. And I saw that the city and our parent company were trying to get rid of Merck, and I didn't like not having a say. I got into parent mode because I had a newborn and I had a 2-year-old at the time, and I was about to lose the best job I've ever had in my life, pay-wise, benefits, vacation time. So I had to go down swinging, and I attended all the meetings, and then I said, finally, you can't complain unless you're willing to stick your neck out there. Yeah. So I complained and complained about the place being sold, and I don't fault any of the past councils for making that purchase, and they thought they were doing right. I still don't have an issue with that. Mm-hmm. They don't have fault with me because they know that I was trying to fight for my family and myself and my job and my coworkers. But then I said, okay, I'm going to lose this battle, but I'm going to be included in the talks on anything upcoming in this city. I've lived here way too long, and I just wanted to make sure that I have a say, because I knew there were people in my ward that probably felt like, wow, I'm not being heard either. So, I just, that's the whole part of it. And now it's just been such a great run. I'm having a blast on the council, meeting all these new people.
I'm learning a lot.
I'm sure, absolutely. And what's cool about our council, I don't want to get into politics, but you have a diverse group of people. Some of us have differing political views, but we're on that council, we're all friends.
It shows.
I may not agree with the people to my right or left, but we handle all of our discussions, all of our disagreements in private. We're not going to embarrass each other in council chambers. We're not going to embarrass the mayor. He's vice versa. It's just all about, we're really a good cohesive group, and I'm really proud to be part of them.
I see that. I've learned a lot since I've been in the back there in my little room.
Right, yeah.
And wow, watching all of you, I now know whose voice goes to who.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes, when I have to move the camera or whatever, it's like, who's talking? Who's talking?
Yeah.
But now I know your voice, I know this voice, that voice, and I see what you just described. All of you perhaps might have a different opinion, but there's a respect on the council.
There surely is, yeah.
And that is so good to see.
I agree, because if you look at everything that's happened in the state and federal level, they find any excuse to argue. No. And rather than find common ground and do what's best for their constituency, I think somewhere along the lines, the constituency gets forgotten, and it's all about what kind of power play I can do with me, and we just don't have any room for that in city government. No. Where we need to, our constituents live right next door to us. We're not, 1,000 miles away in Washington, D.C. So
makes a big difference.
Yeah, and it's really fulfilling too. I went to my neighbor's house. They dropped a UPS package off at the right one, and I brought it over to her, and she says, "Oh, I saw what you said." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." She said, No. I totally agree with you. So that was nice to hear. I thought I was going to get an earful, and I get earfuls every now and then, and I get phone calls. But overall, I just explained to people, look, we're trying our best. We're not superhuman. We don't have all the answers.
Right.
But we try like crazy. We do our homework. We do our research.
Yeah. I'm just amazed, and especially now with the parking and all of that going on. And the public has come in, and they have talked.
Absolutely.
And all of you have listened. So, I've never seen that before. I lived in Manhattan.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You don't see that. I remember when I first moved up here, And I saw the mayor walk into Hannaford's. I was just blown away. It was like, wow, you would never see that in Manhattan.
Right? Yeah.
You're not going to see your mayor walk into D'Agostino's on the corner.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was like after a little while, you know, I asked Alan to be on the show, and he was, and I was like, you don't realize how amazing this is to me coming from Manhattan.
Yeah.
Seeing that all of you are you're so touchable.
Yeah, we sure are.
Which blows me away.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I think
it's very good.
You know, seeing us out in the public and, you know, going to events downtown and ribbon cuttings and
oh yeah,
taking part in the school. I think that's a great thing. I do a lot of school stuff because there's only a few of us like me and Councilor McCurry that have school-age children.
Right.
So we're always at the functions, and I just think it's a blast. And
that's great.
Yeah, I do too.
It's so nice to have you on the show.
Well, thank you.
I mean, we have worked so hard because you've been so busy.
I know.
So where do you see yourself a couple years from now, you and Jesse?
Well, we'll still be in Biddeford for sure. Mm-hmm. I'll probably still be on the council in 2 years. My kids will be that much older.
Yeah.
I would only imagine that we'll be that much busier with all their children as they each like to do their own separate activities now. So keeping them together right now is a real treat. So when we go to swim lessons, it's a one-stop shop. They can both take care of their swim lessons. But in the future, we'll still be here, and Biddeford's part of us. So this is our community, and we've both lived here forever. She's got ties to Loch Hermès, so she won't be taken off anytime soon, and nor will I. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've never met your wife, but just the feeling I get is both of you are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. We try. I mean,
I can see the happiness in your face when you talk about her and your children.
Yeah.
And even the consul, you are just.
Yeah, I just
got a good heart.
Yeah, I may not get it always right, but I try my hardest. And I do. I'd go to bat for each and every one of those counselors and my family. And if you're in my circle of life, or then I'm super loyal to you. You know. So going back to the council, if it's kind of like brothers and sisters, it would be like, we can disagree,
right?
But don't you, Mr. Outsider, come in and bash on them, whether I agree with them or not, because I'm going to stick up for them.
Yeah.
So I don't like it when people come up to me and bash another counselor. I say, hey, you don't get it. You know, this guy is working for about $1 an hour, if that, and these people put their heart and soul into this town. A lot of them are newcomers on the council. I call them the newbies. They moved here from elsewhere. So
Amy Clearwater was on the show.
Yes, that's my newbie. Her and she's a hoot. I love her.
She is. I love when she's up there because she sits right next to you.
Yes, she does. She's Ward 5, correct?
Yeah. So she sits right next to you, and she has a way of coming out with things. And I put the camera up on you, and I'm watching you go.
I do.
I do.
I know. Well, yeah, that's cool. That is.
No, I mean, it's just a wonderful education.
Yeah.
For me, and I'm very grateful I have the opportunity.
Yeah, no, we're grateful that you're in town doing this show and you come to our meetings. And
oh yeah.
It's just a blast.
Well, I wanted people to know the council members. Because there was a moment, maybe about 8 months ago, where I'm thinking, it seems like all of you are untouchable. And maybe we should do this. Brian Finney, I spoke to him about it, and he said, no, I think it's a good idea. Mike Swanton is now the head of the cable board.
Yes, he is.
Here. And I told him, I said, I'm going to do this. And Mike was the first one who
I know he was.
Shot me an email and said, okay, I'm ready. I thought, great, okay. So I just wanted everybody out there in the viewing audience to know each and every one of you.
Yeah.
You know, and how hard everybody is working. And it was just important.
It sure is, yeah.
Of course, I told Phil, you know Phil, I said, I want my room painted in here. I said, if I don't have my room painted within 6 months, I'm going to put a sequin curtain up.
I think that's a better option.
I said, and boy, those council members are going to see all this dazzle going through. And he kind of looked at me with fear. So I've been having a good time.
Yeah,
I
good for
really
you.
have.
Yeah.
But we're running out of time, Robert.
Yeah.
Wow.
Already, it went like so
It does. It does.
Yeah, well, when you're having fun, time's not an issue,
I
right?
told you we're going to make history.
Of course we are.
And I want to thank you for taking the time and being
Well, I
on
wanna
the
thank- I
show.
wanna thank you for having me.
Of course.
This was a blast, and I was looking forward to this big time. So
I know, and I was looking forward to it. We finally got it together.
I know, I'm
but-
glad. Just before Christmas, so
Yeah, which is good.
yeah.
And tonight you can take the show home with your kids and
Well, watch it.
you can watch it.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank you again.
Well, thank you so much.
And I'll see you tomorrow night at the meeting.
I have to work. We've had a coworker had rotator cuff,
Ooh.
so there is an
won't see
abundance of overtime at this point. So till he gets healed, but I don't plan on missing too many meetings.
No,
this would be the first council meeting I've missed in quite some time. So
Well, thank you for everything that you do.
well, thank you for.
I
having me.
appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you too. And
Well, thank you.
Yep.
And I want to thank everybody for watching our show today. And have a great holiday. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.